Michelle Key, and I'm a senior at Chadwick School who has an interest in pursuing marine biology slash science with some kind of climate change minor. And my target dream is to become a marine veterinarian. Okay, so I'll start off. So, what do you specialize in marine biology?
So I am actually an oceanography student. So I am doing work revolving climate change in the Gulf of Maine, um, primarily looking at temperature change over the past 20 years and how that impacts the local ecosystems, local economy, things like that.
And then, what is your favorite part about being an oceanographer?
Yeah, so my favorite part is definitely, let's see, it's a good question. I think I really love the combination of field work and data analysis that I get to do as an oceanography student. So I've spent a lot of time out on the water, collecting different data types and catching fish and things like that. But I also spend a lot of time doing programming and different fields of mathematics with the data that I collect out on the water. So I really like that it's sort of an interdisciplinary field.
And then, what inspired you to go into oceanography?
I have always loved the ocean. I grew up in New Hampshire, surrounded by a bunch of different lakes, and I spent all of my time there when I was a kid. And I knew I was completely in love with the ocean, and I also recognized that it is a resource that has not been explored as much as it should be, and that it was something I really wanted to take advantage of studying, particularly in terms of climate change.
Mm. And then, what are some of the amazing things you've seen slash discovered when you're out on the field?
Yeah. So this summer I spent a lot of time, this summer and fall, I spent a lot of time in the Gulf of Maine, around the Casco Bay, Saco Bay area. And we saw lots of really cool jellyfish in the area. We would see seals all the time. We'd try and count them every single time we went on the boat. And this past fall, for one of my courses, we actually were able to catch and tag an 8-foot blue shark, which was really exciting. And just seeing that process of getting that actual tag on so we can collect data was something I will never forget.
That's really cool. How does tagging work exactly? Do you where do you attach the tag on the animal?
So Ben would know more about this. So definitely ask him about this. But there's different types of tags that you can use depending on the organism. There are some that you just sort of almost hole punch onto fins and places like that. There are internal tags. There are tags that you can just almost tie on. But Ben would know more about that than I do.
Okay. And then, what are some major accomplishments that you've achieved?
That's a great question. So I have first I essentially had to learn programming on my own, which was really scary. I used the program MATLAB to do a lot of my data analysis, and my first year as an undergraduate student, I essentially just my research advisor would give me assignments, and then I'd have to figure out how to code on my own, which was really scary or exciting. I love presenting. It is outside of the actual data collection and analysis. That's my favorite thing to do. I love any sort of outreach, as you could probably tell by my Instagram and doing this. But that's my favorite thing. And I've been able to actually present my work in the form of oral presentations at regional Gulf of Maine conferences, which is super cool. And seeing other people who are more qualified than I am in the field, being able to sort of be up on that pedestal with them is just super exciting to me.
That's amazing. I am kind of mediocre at public speaking, so I get nervous a lot. But that's definitely something I want to work on.
Yeah, public speaking is really important, and it's definitely one of those things that a lot of scientists struggle with. So, any opportunity that you have to take a public speaking course or any sort of like a lot of English courses will require public speaking, and a lot of college marine science courses do have a public speaking aspect, especially if you decide you want to go to graduate school. That's a really big thing is you have to teach a lot. So I've seen a lot of my friends who are graduate students, they have that work to try and improve public speaking because it is something that we as scientists tend to struggle with sometimes. And that's totally fair. It's scary.
And then, what does new technology in marine, like in oceanography, look like for you, and like how does it change the field?
Yeah. So my data that I use is primarily from buoys. So there are a lot of different types of sensors that you can attach to buoys. One of the You can collect temperature data both from seawater and the air. You can also do salinity and conductivity. You can also see how clear the water is, how much chlorophyll is in the water. There's just so many different instruments that you can strap onto these buoys at different depths, which is primarily what I use, focusing on salinity data and temperature data. But the most important tool in oceanographic data collection right now is a CTD, which is conductivity, temperature, and depth. And it's sort of this very large sensor in a big cage that it records temperature data. It records conductivity, which is how you figure out the salinity of seawater, and then the depth that the sensor is at. So that's a really important tool for any sort of oceanographic calculations. So that's the major most helpful oceanographic tool that we use on a regular basis.
That's amazing. Like, I never knew that you can use buoys for something like that. Like I've always just known that there's things like that float on the water and just kind of like existed. I never knew it could be used to like record like so many things.
Yeah, a lot of universities have just these huge buoys that you can tack on basically any type of sensor that can be in the water.
And then like what aspect in being an oceanographer do you find the most difficult? Like what was like your most difficult experience?
I think getting more comfortable with math was really hard for me. Oceanography does focus more on math and physical factors of the ocean. We use a lot of that data to be applied to organisms in my case, and math is always something that I've been self-conscious about. I've always been a good math student, but it's very much one of those subjects that's very stigmatized. So I felt like I wasn't doing well enough, even though I knew like I didn't have to be the best at math to be a scientist, which I think is really important. One, any type of scientist is going to have to do some math. It's just how it is. And getting comfortable with that and being willing to be like vulnerable and be able to make those mistakes and do well and not be super scared by math, because a lot of people are. So that was definitely something that I had to overcome in my studies.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like the same exact way. Like I know I'm good at math, but like I get self-conscious about like what if I'm wrong and then everything fails and goes wrong and it's on me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I definitely need to work up the confidence on that.
Yeah.
And then like what are some common misconceptions about being in like oceanographers?
Common misconceptions. Um, um, we don't feel like some people assume that oceanographers don't care about like organisms themselves. They just care about like the ocean as a whole. But personally for me, I do have a background in physical oceanography, but that's because I care about the whole system, including the organisms in it. I was never honestly, I came into college as a marine biology major and I switched to oceanography. So one of the things that actually made me decide to do that was I was never one of those kids that like had a favorite marine creature. A shark kid. I wasn't a jellyfish kid. Like I just thought they were all really, really cool. And I wanted to see like how they interact. So for me, the best way to figure out how organisms interact is to consider like the whole ecosystem as much as I can. So that's why I wanted to be an oceanographer, is because I can do big picture stuff. So I feel like a lot of people think that, and some people do focus on like really specific things that may not even be like from an outside perspective may not seem like they're super related to organisms, but obviously everything is so interconnected that whatever happens in the ocean is going to happen to the things living there. So their marine biology and oceanography are very interconnected, and we do a lot of overlapping work. So just I think just recognizing the similarities between the two is something that I feel like is not recognized enough.
Yeah, like I don't think I've ever really like noticed like the interconnections between like marine biology and oceanography. Like I always kind of thought them as like two separate kind of subjects. But now that you explained it to me, I see why it interconnects.
Yeah.
And then like how much free time do you have for having such a time consuming job?
So because I'm a student, I don't get to do as much research as I would like to. So currently I'm taking 2 research credits. So the way that works is every credit is the equivalent of 3 hours of work. So per week, I do about 6 hours of research, and that includes like meetings with the lab because I have a research advisor, and there are 2 students that are sophomores and juniors that I am sort of teaching how to work in the lab setting. So I do about 6 hours of work over the summer. I did do a full 40 hours a week conducting my research. But surprisingly, as someone who is pursuing research and 2 minors and is a senior working on applying to graduate school, I actually do have an okay amount of free time. As I said, I really like presentations. So I actually am a member of the theater club on campus here. So I have time to do that. But honestly, other than those things, not that much. But I have enough time that I can still do, like, I can still have hobbies, which I think is really important to take breaks from your work. No matter how much you love your work, it's important to take breaks because you don't want that to just be everything in your head.
That's like really reassuring because like I know like since I'm like looking through like colleges to like apply to, I'm like looking at clubs and stuff like that. I'm like thinking like I have this mindset of like I should just join every single club I'm like interested in and like take up that free time because that's kind of like what my school had kind of set up for me. It was like you should try taking up all these clubs and all these like affinity groups and try to like expand your like knowledge, I guess, in some sort of way instead of
Mhm.
like having free time. But like definitely, I feel like definitely in college I might loosen up a bit on that.
Yeah. I did the same thing in high school. I did like every single thing that I could fit into my day. And that is just not that's just not what most people do in college. The 2 clubs I'm mostly involved with are our theater club, UNE Players, and the aquarium club on campus, which obviously is very related to my field. Um, so I think having like 2 outlets is really a good way to stay balanced.
Yeah, like speaking of theater, I'm also like part of the costume crew at my school, and we're like
Oh,
setting up for
cool.
a musical at the moment, which is really chaotic. Tech week's coming up in 2 weeks, and that's gonna
Oh,
be just. I'm thankful that I have no tests that week.
yeah, that's great. What show are you doing?
We're doing Percy Jackson like in the Lightning Thief musical.
I'm so jealous.
It's so cool. I love the
The
music there.
musical.
The music is so cool, and I just love watching them rehearse. It's really cool.
Nice.
A lot of cool,
We
lot.
actually are having our first rehearsal for Something Rotten on Wednesday.
Ooh,
Yeah.
There's a lot of quick changes, and we're a really small costume crew, so let's see how that goes.
You guys got this. I believe in you.
Thank you. And then lastly, like I know you explained like when you're younger you didn't have any favorite marine animals, but like do you have a marine animal right now?
Um, the major one that I think of are gobies, any sort of goby. They're they can be found in both like the aquarium trade and also a lot of intertidal areas. They are the little fish with almost little like feet. And
Oh, those are so cute.
yeah, and they like take in like sand and then spit it out to get food. And they usually are in a pair with like a shrimp, especially in the aquarium setting. I think they're so cute. I've never done any research on them or anything, but they're just adorable.
Yeah, I always wondered, okay, that makes sense. Like I always wondered like why do they eat the sand and then spit it out? Like I thought they're just like trying to like mess with someone or something.
They also can like dig tunnels that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch. We have a big it's about 100-gallon freshwater, saltwater tank that we have on campus that we take care of in the aquarium club, and you can see him and his little like best friend, it's a shrimp, just like digging tunnels. Really cute.
That's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And then thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure talking to you, and we'll enter into interview here. Thank you.
Have the strangest feeling, don't know what to believe in. Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body.